Sweet. Hi, everybody. I am back, and today is actually the day of my real cross country in about 7 hours. Because I can't get enough of this stuff, I'm flying it virtually. Specifically, I'm flying the return trip from Friday Harbor to Boeing Field, my home field. So, trying to replicate real-world conditions, we think the cloud decks will probably be around 5,000 a day, so they're a little bit low, overcast. Otherwise, looking pretty good. No precipitation. Wind is light from the east, maybe 6 knots. So it's sort of a transitional period between the north and south flow that's traditional here in the Puget Sound. So it's a good time to go. We've got kind of a break in the weather before the winter storm kind of comes in. So I'm going to get started. We're going to fly a route that's essentially the reverse of the route that we flew up here, and I'm using X-Plane 11, a different simulator than I used to get here. So one was Microsoft, this is X-Plane. So we'll see how it goes. Plane is cold and dark. Let's assume that we landed Friday Harbor, turned it off, and went and got a bite to eat or something. So anyway, that's the deal, and we're getting started in just a minute. Woo-ha. Alright, tablet mirror's up. So as we said, Friday Harbor to the shore, past Skagit, down past Arlington, past Marysville, to Monroe, to Bellevue, to Seattle. Nice and simple, we shouldn't have any problem getting it done. There's the navlog right there. We've got our headings ready to go. We know the VORs we're going to dial in. We've got frequencies. So we're going to get all this stuff plugged into the aircraft. I'm not going to have a complicated GPS flight plan in the GPS unit because it takes a long time, and we've got our stuff right here in the tablet. So let's go. Can't go anywhere without my handy dandy checklist. Alright, we did our pre-flight. We just got back. The plane's still the same plane that we left. Passenger briefing is complete. Seats and seatbelts adjusted and locked. Parking brake set. We're going to remove that parking brake. Circuit breakers, because we stand on the brakes. We don't use the parking brake when we do this. Circuit breakers check in. Electrical equipment is off. Let me turn that. Let me get rid of that. Boop, like that. Electrical equipment is off except for the beacon. That's fine. Fuel selector valve too. Both. Yes, both. And let's get that RBF stuff off. RBF chocks, tie downs removed. And fuel selector valve is, let me check that's right. Yep, pushed full in. Tank is on both. And I want to make sure that we have enough juice to get us home. We do not. I'm going to refill it back up to half tanks. Good gross weight, we are just fine. Alright, throttle, open 1/4 of an inch. And mixture to full lean, or excuse me, idle cutoff, master switch on. Get those flaps down like we always do in pre-flight. Beacon on, engine prime. We're not doing a warm start, I do not believe. I'll check the oil temperature. No, oil temperature is pegged to the bottom, so it's a cold start. In reality, it'd be a warm start, but that's just the way it goes. Switch on, beacon on, engine prime, aux fuel pump on. Mixture rich. 1, 2, 3, and fuel pump off. Alright, let's get that key in. Boop, like that. Prop area clear. Clear prop. Ignition switch. Advances engine fires. Ooh, that wasn't too bad this time. Alright. Yes, thank you. Alright, we got low volts, masters on, arm standby battery. Make sure advanced engine fires. Check starter disengaged. Starter is disengaged. Throttle at 1,000 RPM. I'm going to go ahead and put it up to 1100 just to get the oil temperature up for a minute. Oil pressure, check, it is in the green, at the top of the green. Mixture lean as required. Lean out a little bit for ground lean. Avionics power switch on. Booyah. Radios, GPS set. Okay, let's do our radios and GPS. So we're going to use COM1s for our ground and our ATIS, and COM2s are going to be our tower frequencies. And so we know that KFR's, Friday Harbor's got a CTAF 12825, so 12825, boom, and then KBFI tower is 118.3. Maybe it's not, but they'll tell us. So that's set in the standby. Now we'll switch back over to COM. Oops. Push button, COM1. Okay. We want KFHR ground on 118.2. Why there's a separate ground frequency, I don't know. And the CTAF is 12825. I gotta really turn this dial. Alright, there we go. Alright, before we get the ATIS or AWAS here at KFHR, let's also set our nav frequencies. We want 2 nav CVV and PAE for the first part here, so nav 117.2. Okay, CVV, and it's coming in loud and clear. PAE R43 110.6. And that's in our standby. We're not doing anything with nav2 right now. We should be at 310. I'm going to set course 436. What I said was 346. And that's going to be the radial that we will cross as we cross past our first waypoint. So that part is good. Alright, what else do we need to do? Radios, GPS, ATIS, and altimeter received and set, so it's time to check the weather. And Charles needs to deactivate the X-Plane plugin. Or the X-Pilot plugin. Not hearing any weather. Did I get the wrong ATIS? Oh, I totally did. 12825 is the CTAF. Why did I do that? 135675.
Friday Harbor weather. Wind 090 at 5, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 4900 broken, temperature 14, dew point 5. Altimeter 2992.
I should have written that down.
Friday Harbor weather. Wind 090 at 5, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 4900 broken, temperature 14, dew point 5. Altimeter 2992.
There you go. I done did it. Alright, we'll set that to ground 118.2, and we've got 128250 dialed in on COM 2, just like that. 128250 is CTAF for Friday Harbor. Let's continue. And altimeter is 29902, and field elevation here is 113. So Let's check our altimeters, make sure that makes sense. I see I see about 120 right there, and our backup altimeter that's right here, it shows a little over 100, so I think altimeter's set for the field, so that's awesome. ATIS altimeter received and set, yes. Transponder set to 1200. No, don't ident. And alt. There. Flaps retract. Flaps up. Parking brakes, release and test. So we'll go ahead and shoot forward a little bit here. Brakes off. Brakes on. Good. Lights set. Taxi, nav, and strobe. Okay, before taxi, mixture, lean as required. We already did this stuff. Okay, so we're going to get rolling here. We're going to call ground. I got COM1 Mike. Friday Harbor Ground, Cessna 6378 Mike. Wow. Think about what you're going to say, Charles, then say it. What we want to do is we're going to do a departure out to the east. And we need a taxi to runway 16. For east departure. So, Friday Harbor traffic, Cessna 6378 Mike, taxiing to runway 16 for east departure. Friday Harbor. Okay, let's go. Close that window. Where were you raised? And let's take a look at our plates for Friday Harbor. Taxiway is one way. I think I just messed with it. But it's one way, so we're going to go like this. Yeah, it's kind of funky. Whatever. Before takeoff, parking brake set? No, but I'm standing on the brakes. Passenger seat belts, most of bright seats, seat belts, cabin doors closed and locked. We just did that. Flight controls free and correct. Left. Back. Right. Forward. Waggle, waggle, waggle. Electric trim autopilot test. Electric trim. Wee! Wee! Okay. And AP test. Heading bug is set to the left, so we'll do heading mode. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my yoke and hit AP. There. It moves my... but I can override it. That's awesome. And autopilot disconnect. Okie dokie. Autopilot tested. Electric trim tested. Elevator trim set for takeoff. Trim is set for takeoff. Fuel quantity, check. Shows to me as 14 gallons. Let me see if that's if my system agrees. 40 gallons remaining. So no, I don't think that's right. So don't trust what you see there. Flight instruments check and set. We have set, let's see, we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to set our first waypoints for altitudes 5,500. We're climbing out, and we're climbing out aggressively, but I'm going to set it to 3,500 because cloud tops are at 5, so I'm going to set it to 3,500. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do direct to... No. That was horrible. K B F I. Enter and activate. There we go. Alright, now I'll set the heading bug once we're up and running. Course route 068 minus 16 because we're up here is 52, so that's going to be our first heading of 52.
Approaching runway 16.
Oh, what am I doing? I thought I was ready to go and I am not. Mixture to rich. 1800 RPM. Okay, fuel's on both. Mag left. Good, and back to both. Mag right. Back to both. You're not going to see a change in the AM meter because of how it works in this sim, but that's okay. I did my check. Magneto's check. Instruments check. VAC is good. It's in the green. Oil pressure, temperature in the green. Fuel flow is good. Throttle back to idle. Smooth enough. Alright, 1000 RPM, throttle friction set, lights as required, landing lights on, radios and avionics set, autopilot off, transponder code and set, parking brake release. Alright. And there's COM2 Mike, Friday Harbor traffic, Cessna 6378 Mike, holding short runway 16, taking runway 16 for eastbound departure, Friday Harbor traffic. And let's go. And 16 is right traffic, so rather than do a right-hand turn and try to depart out of the pattern that way, I am going to fly south for a moment and then turn left once I've gained enough altitude. So I'm going to go ahead and set my heading bug just like that, and I'm going to do IAS mode and heading mode and autopilot go. And climbing out, full throttle, climbing with FLC mode so that it holds my airspeed. And once I get to 1500, I'll go ahead and make a turn. Alright, there's 1000, that's 800 feet, or 900 feet above the field. Wow, look at us, I really slipped to the west there. Friday Harbor traffic, Cessna 6378 Mike on the departure leg, runway 16, turning eastbound, departing, last call this frequency, Friday Harbor traffic. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn 050, I would say. And there we are at 1700, so we're what I would consider plenty above the field. A darn good amount. Alright, and let's do our climb out checklist. Pitch, en route climb, airspeed 75 to 85, yes. Throttle full open, yes. Mixture rich as required. Lean above 3,000 feet. We're not there yet, so we're fine. And just check Florida door. Tanks both. Fuel shutoff is in. Mixture is rich. Lights as required. I'll go ahead and turn that landing light off. Keys, both master on. Ooh, kind of hazy up here. Well, I suppose I should get used to it. We want to attain our maximum cruise altitude since we're going over the water here. Now at this point we're 2 miles from a divert airfield of S31, so if things go bad we can either turn back to KFHR. You can see we're equidistant to both airports at this point. So, you know, if it's 3,000 feet, we got 9 to 1s, 27,000 feet, divide that by 6, and you get, not 6, you get not 5, you get 4 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles. So we actually have double the room that we need at 3,000 feet to make either airport. So it's nice, it's safe, we love it. I suppose that's about all I have to say about that. Okay, time off the ground. I should have marked that, but I'd call it about 16:20. And we're on our way. All right. Speed's coming up. $13-mile leg. Good. Pull back the throttle a little bit. 2,400. And we're up where we need to be. We need to have 1,000 feet above, 500 feet below, 2 miles horizontal separation, I believe. And we have achieved that. Clouds are 1,400 feet above us, no clouds below us, no clouds either side. We're solid. Solid. So is anybody on with us today? Check that out. Could be taken on holiday. Nobody there. I think maybe if I go to YouTube Studio I can see what's going on. Maybe not. Dashboard. No. No. I can't check chat there either. I actually don't know how to do it. Maybe I have to watch my own YouTube video. YouTube TV. Your data. Library. Nope. If you find folks are chatting with me on YouTube, I don't get to see the chat. Sorry about that. There's a really nice person the other day who was asking, I found out only later, they were asking what model of 172 is this. I believe this is a 172S Sierra. Same as, I think, in the Microsoft Flight Simulator one, it's 172S. Okie dokie. So, friends, where are we now? Well, that's Lopez Island down there. 38 Wa is Blakely Island. So we're actually going to be getting to that pretty close. And then Zoneuve. You see Zoneuve right there. That's Cypress Island, and you can identify that by big old mountain. So we're about to pass over some land, and if I look down to my left, I should see an airport. There it is. And if I look ahead, there's this big hill. That's Cypress Island. The mainland, that away, but off to my right, you can start to see the markers for the airspace around KNUW, which is the Naval Air Station, I believe, which is probably that right there. I don't think it's this. I think it's that, because I'm actually lined up. If I took a right turn right now, I'd be lined up for final on runway, I don't know, 116 or something. So we're going to go ahead and continue 38 WA. Let's take a look at our map. Once we touch the Cypress Island, we're going to take a right turn and we're going to head for the town of Burlington, which is going to be just east of KBVS. So that'll be a turn to, let's call it 103, and we'll travel 17 nautical miles until we cross the town of Burlington, and then we'll turn south. We're going to keep this altitude. Right now we have no indication that the clouds have any breaks in them anywhere. So this is a pretty flat cloud deck. We're just going to stay underneath it. I have good enough visibility. I can see things. You know, why it's really hazy and shadowy, I don't really know. There's no precipitation right now, so that's not causing it. All right, you can look here, and we'll check our VOR with CVV. We want to watch that CDI course deviation indicator. You see it starting to pull toward the center. That means we're about to cross the 346 radial from CVV, which is the VOR station near Whidbey Island. So that's telling us that it's coming close to time to do our turn, and sure enough, we're over Cypress Island. That's what we would expect. So we're going to turn toward Burlington on a heading of 103. I'll give it another minute. And it'd probably be a pretty good time once we're on that course to lean out the engine a little bit so we're not burning as much fuel. I think that's a good idea. How about you? Alright, course deviation indicator says we're only off by, I think each dot is 2 degrees. And CVV isn't very far from us, maybe 10 miles, 15 miles. Alright, let's go ahead and make that turn. Burlington, here we come. Okay, you can see an airport in the distance. And there's an airport right there as well. I believe that's Anacortes. I believe I'm right about that. It's just off the right-hand side. 74S is the designation for Anacortes. And so coming up, that is probably Skagit, KBVS. We're pretty much lined up for a final approach to Skagit, which we don't want to do. We're going to stay high. We're going to keep rolling. Now let's lean the engine. Okay, bringing the fuel mixture back. Watching EGT go up. Slow, 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 slow. We're watching for peak. Cylinders switched. And there's peak right there. So we'll rich it out. And we're lean. Fuel flow, 5.8 gallons per hour. That's wonderful. And the system tells us we have burned 2.5 gallons already. And we've been operating in one form or another for about half an hour. So, yep, 1631. 2 gallons, 2.5, so 5 gallons for takeoff and that kind of thing. Not bad. So we're on this track now to on this trek now to Burlington. We've gone about 3 miles. We've got about 3 miles of our 17 miles, so 14 miles. Our current ground speed is 101 knots. Pull up our E6B. You know that I love this thing. Alright, so 101 knots in flight. Ground speed? No. Leg time? We have 14 nautical miles to go at a ground speed of 101. 8 minutes and 19 seconds. So 8 minutes will be turning, so 33, 1641. Thank you, E6B. Oh, hey, neat. AOA indicator. Cool, free toys. Let's see. What else could I be doing? Well, I gotta dial in my next CVV. The 32 radial. 310 to Yuma. There we go. We're not changing to another VOR yet. Okay, I got the beacon at Skagit. That's cool. Town of Burlington is east of Skagit, so probably going to be near the highway there. I'll check the map, and the map says yes. So there's Skagit, east, there's Burlington, there's the highway. So that's Skagit, that's east, that's the highway. QED. I love this stuff. Whenever you're bored, check Florida door. Both. Fuel shut-off is in. Mixture is leaned for altitude. Keys both. Masters on. Standby batteries armed. Lights as required. Autopilot is on and functional. Ooh, we're getting a little bit of effect there. Some end of the day. I'm hoping we get to see that today. I think that's just going to be brilliant. I imagine that it'll probably, the real flight will probably be about 30 minutes earlier than this, but that's fine. What else could I do? I could get latest weather. So let's call KBVS's AWAS 121125. Listen to COM 1.
Skagit Regal weather. Wind 090 at 5, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 4900 broken, temperature 14, dew point 5. Altimeter 2992.
Nifty. Everything's the same as it was when we left it. Okay, so we're passing over KBVS here in just a second, so headed east from there. We expect that to be the town of Burlington, and this big track of road is probably I-5. I-5 takes us all the way home. Gotta love that. You know, it's funny, it doesn't seem like much, but there's a lot to do in this cockpit. You're trying to kind of prepare for other eventualities, you're trying to check your thinking, you're trying to get your radios ready, so on and so forth. Even for a flight like this, it feels routine. There's a lot to do. I mean, not that you can't have a sip of coffee every now and again. Here. Let my virtual pilot have a little bit of something. Also, please don't put a straw in your coffee. Just don't do that. Ugh. Nasty. Nasty boys. Alright, so we're using that VOR as our signal. I mean, that plus, you know, we're over the town of Burlington to do our next turn. So why don't we prep for that? My documents. What they do. At Burlington, we're going to head south, a beam KWO, R88, 164, that's a true course, so minus magnetic, 139. So it's really southeast. Stay at our altitude, not 5,500, 3,500 because of the weather. But you get it, so 139 is our next heading. Leg time will be 20 miles, so that's going to be a long one. And the VOR is coming in view. See, CDI is slipping toward the center, so that's good. Time is almost what we expected it to be. 1640-ish, you know, when we cross Burlington, so I'm about a minute off. So we're going to go ahead and make this turn to 139, and we're going to proceed for 20 miles. So we'll do a little bit more timer, you know, math and magic as we take this leg, and maybe we can calculate the rest of it and kind of figure out when our ETA is going to be to Boeing Field. How about that? We'll do a little bit of math. You know, lest you were bored. Okay, VOR CDI is crossing, so alright, turn to heading 139er. We probably should see ground speed change a little bit as well. Not a whole heck of a lot, but since we altered our orientation to the wind, so this is telling us we have a headwind of 7 knots and a crosswind of 4 knots. That's helpful. I like that. I'm going to go ahead and start a timer. Nav data, out of data. Okay. Okay, timer is running. We have 20 miles to go. A beam KWO CVV R88. So we're going to set the course radial at CVV to 88, and that's when we know we will have crossed our next waypoint. But we also will see the airport Arlington. That's another way we'll know. And our timer should be close to what? Our ground speed is established at 102, so let's get the handy E6B. Distance 20 miles, ground speed 102, 11 minutes 46 seconds, so about 12 minutes. Okay, let's do the rest of this. So Burlington to a beam KWO, 20 miles, and there's 44 miles left to go. So that's 64 nautical miles at a ground speed of 102, 37:39. So 38 minutes is our total travel time from where we are now-ish all the way to Boeing Field. That's our entire remaining route. So ETE 37:39, ETA is current time plus 37:39. So I'll do some boring math here. 1641 plus 30 is 1711 plus, let's call it 8 minutes, let's call it 9 for good measure, 1720. We'll probably be at KBFI at 1720. Now, can things affect that? Yes, there's not a whole lot of headwind. We're kind of flying into it right now. If we're doing any big climbs, it's going to slow us down, but we don't intend to, and we're going to be descending at the same speed, right? We're not doing slow descents, we're descending at max ground speed. So I think we're looking good to arrive 1720, and that would be, it's 520 local at Boeing Field. Now, how about fuel? Well, fuel required. We are burning right now. What are we burning? 6 gallons an hour. And time 36. 3.8 gallons. Do we have 3.8 gallons? Yes, we do. Fuel looks good. Let's poke around a little bit. There's I-5. And does I-5 go past KWO? Do we know? We can find out. There's KWO right there. And there's I-5. So yes, it does. If we're headed south, KWO is going to be to our left if we follow I-5. So as we see I-5 pop into view a little bit closer to the airport, we should see it stay to the right and KWO is to the left. Strictly speaking, I'm trying to leave KWO on my left, so I'm going to go ahead and turn my heading just a couple more degrees. Don't do that in the 3D cockpit. That's the lesson, Charles. Don't do that. There you go. Put that nose straight on. It's kind of like I was making a final approach to I-5, right? Which I don't intend to do. This isn't a game, you know. Flying is serious business. Okay, there we go. There's the rest of I-5 just popped in. And we'll follow it. We're going to leave KWO on our left. Everything going swimmingly so far. Everything's just rocking and rolling. When you're bored, run a check. Both tanks. Fuel shutoff is in. Mixture is leaned appropriately. Keys both. Master is on. Lights is appropriate. Autopilot is on. Functioning normally. Oh my god. Pressure breathe. No. Oh, that's why it's so hazy. Look at what is going on with this window. Do I need to do like cabin air? Here. The windows are so foggy. Are they clearing up at all? Kinda? I shouldn't stay focused on that. That was kind of dumb. I kind of think by turning on cabin air and cabin heat, I think I've cleared the windscreen. I think it was just misting or fogging up. Haha. What's this? Huh? Oh. I don't know what those are. I'll look that up. Oh, yeah, they were totally fogging up. Well, that's just... Look, you can barely see a difference between the... Airfoil Labs, you make a good product. I'm impressed. and a little annoyed. Banana. Oh, no. Yeah, I can see so much better now. Alright, so what do we get? Okay, well, off to the left. But I guess that's Payne Field up ahead. Could be right, could be wrong, I suppose. Big old runway over there. That might be Whidbey Island. I don't know. Do you see any burners from crazy F-18 pilots? Look down there. Traffic's moving on I-5. Totally not historical like Seattle and Everett traffic, by the way. It's a Friday. It's supposed to be 5 p.m. That would be wall-to-wall. I'm just happy to be up here. And guess what? It's 8 o'clock here in real time in the morning of my real flight. My flight is 6 hours away, which means when I get done with this, I can actually go and request a standard weather briefing and start to finish up my nav plan for today's actual flight to Friday Harbor, which I'll put on YouTube as soon as I have the flight and I've gotten the footage. I'm really hoping it works out well. These are supposed to be the real conditions. We're supposed to have cloud decks raise up to 5,000, which should be good enough to go. We're going to go to Friday Harbor and back all in one day. So 2 p.m. today to 6 p.m. today. Probably shouldn't take all that time. We're going to fly the routes that you've seen here on this channel. You saw me fly to Friday Harbor and you're seeing me fly back. We're really going to do that today. And I'm really excited to do that. See some of the same sights and do it for real. This is my first cross country. I'm really excited. Well, we know that our waypoint is actually a beam K-well, right? So what do we do once we get there? We're going to turn. It says course 152. So we're going to go ahead and turn minus 15. We're going to turn 137. And we're headed toward Lake Stevens. We're going to change to the PAE Payne Field VOR and tune in course 043. I've already got PAE set up in my nav 1 as a standby frequency, so it's going to be very easy. Turn course, switch nav, dial 43. And the course is 137. Alright, VOR is slowly sliding into place, and we are a beam KWO. There it is. So I've got primary navigation, secondary navigation all agrees. I think we know where we are. So, and then 137 is actually going to be a left turn, and I want to be sure that's correct. It actually is. That is correct. So let's go ahead and do it. 137, switch nav, there's PAE, and dial dial 43. And the time is 16:51, and the timer shows just about 11 minutes. So we're actually getting there a little faster than I had anticipated. I'm really not sure why that is. We're about a minute fast. Probably because I didn't start the timer right away. I'm going to not make that mistake again. Cabo to Lake Stevens is only 11 miles. 11 miles. Very fast. Leg time, distance 11. Ground speed 102. We should get there in 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Very fast. Now we don't have to think about it just yet, but notice down here in the bottom, that is the beginning of the very big, very complicated Class Bravo airspace around Seattle International, Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. We need to begin descent in order to ensure we're not going to bust any of those shelves. We're going to descend not at Lake Stevens, but once we get to Monroe. We will descend to 2,500, as we head toward Bellevue, and then we will descend to 1100 pattern altitude to land at KBFI. There is no need just yet to dial in KBFI weather and all that other good stuff, but we will get there in the fullness of time. Now, because it's becoming, pretty close to nighttime, it's not going to be possible to see Lake Stevens. It's just a dark patch. So we're going to rely on our VOR to tell us when we've crossed, and secondary navigation would be the GPS. I know that Lake Stevens is that thing. And we're headed towards it. We'll be over top of it soon, we believe, in another 5 minutes. And at that point, we will turn towards Monroe. Actually, we won't turn towards Monroe. We'll stay exactly on this heading towards Monroe and go for another 10 miles. It's just that my instructor doesn't like me having waypoints that are more than 20 miles apart, so that would be 21 miles. Oops. He's right, of course. I don't argue with my instructor too much. Not without good reason. Sometimes having fun is a reason. Okay, here's this ring shows 3.75 nautical miles, so we're about 4 miles from crossing over Lake, hitting Lake Stevens. Lots of lights and cities in this area. This is I-5 here, I do believe. Now we could alter the plan and just follow I-5 and do the Green Lake arrival. It would be beautiful. But, truth be told, I'm flying this thing for the first time, and I want to reduce the amount of variables as much as I can. So I'm going to stick with the plan, man. I'm also going to go ahead and turn up some lights here. Turn down the avionics a little bit. There we go. Some TV towers in the distance out there. I believe that's Payne Field. And we're keeping well clear of it. I'm going to give myself just a few degrees to the left because I realize I don't want to shoot into the parachute jump area around Harvey Field. It's nighttime and the clouds are down to 5,000. That don't mean somebody crazy is not going to be jumping. Just never know. Just stay away from the PJA. That's my newfound motto. The virtual pilot's doing a good job. He deserves a sip of coffee. Put the coffee away. Combo breaker. Some fresh air. And we're basically past Lake Stevens. Now the VOR is not quite where it needs to be, but it's close. And it's not like we're actually doing anything different anyway. We're staying this heading for another 10 miles before we do anything different. We're headed to Monroe. we continue. More after this. The pain field is big. Wow. One thing we do need to do, though, and I neglected to do, is reset the course indicator. Or, excuse me, I mean the OBS, on the bearing selector. We want 0, 9, or 2. When we cross Monroe, we'll be crossing across the 0, 9, or 2 radial emanating out of pain field. Now, the other thing we want to do is we want to dial in the next VOR, which is Seattle, because we're done with CVV. We aren't going to use it anymore. Seattle R7, so 116.8. 116.8. Dial that quick. Cool. That comes in. That was easy. Let's also get, for safety's sake, I'm going to dial in 12275 on COM1 because that is the practice area frequency, the northeast for the practice area frequencies for this area, and we're entering into that area. So this is a place where pilots fly and they talk to each other while they fly. So for safety's sake, let's listen in. Maybe someone will say something. In the real world, they would. In the sim, they won't. But whatever. And then might as well tune 12775 on COM1 as the standby because that is Boeing Field ATIS. And COM2 we can set to 118.3, which is tower, but I'm going to not listen to that right now. And so we have tower frequency ready to go for Boeing Field. And we don't really need another tower right now, so I can set their other tower frequency in case they tell me to switch to that. That's 120.6. Hope my instructor didn't see me have to look that up. You should know the Boeing Field. Rada. He does not sound like that. He's a very nice man. Okay. Well, now, what can our secondary navigation tell us? We're going to be headed over an airport called W16. What do we think that is? First air field. 2,000 feet. Well, I don't think so. But where did it go? It disappeared. Wow. First air field is actually right over Monroe. There it is. Yeah, it's actually right over Monroe. That's our waypoint. So to verify that, we should see the VOR coming in. Huh. Funny, we're kind of not. PAE 092. Monroe. PAE 09 or 2. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. It's moving now. Alright, so primary navigation is telling us the right stuff. Whoa, check it out. What? Is that a racetrack? What? Putting it together like a racing track. Alright. I guess we're where we expected to be. Okay. we're going to head to Bellevue 212, which is actually 197. Okay, turn 197. And we need to get down 1,000 feet. I'm going to go ahead and I've dialed that in. I'm going to go ahead and press IAS mode and throttle back. The nose should dip, and as we are losing altitude, as we cross below 3,000, I'll go ahead and enrich the mixture. Okay, well now how fast do we actually have to descend? We need to be at 2,500 by Bellevue, but are there any other restrictions around shells? Is there anything that we're going to bust through? So why don't we probably should have checked this beforehand, but the mirroring just doesn't work so well in this thing. I think in the future, probably, I'm just gonna in the future I'll just record this, maybe cloud mirroring. Anyway, we're about to hit a shelf. You have to kind of just trust me on this. No, there we go. So this shelf here at Maltby is a 5,000 foot shelf. We're going to hit that first. If we're headed directly for Bellevue, as I say we are, then after we cross Lake Sammamish, north of Lake Sammamish, there's going to be a 3,000 foot shelf. We've got to be below both of those. A height of 2,500 will do that. So we'll continue down. Do we have any time pressure to do that? I'd say not particularly. Monroe to Bellevue is 16 nautical miles. Ground speed is, we're faster now, 109. We've changed our orientation to the wind. You can see now there's a crosswind component of 7, no tailwind, no headwind, so we're actually picking up some speed. We're descending 250, so let's assume now out of the 16 miles that we've already gone 4 of them, so there's 12 miles to go at a ground speed of 109. Means we'll hit Bellevue in 6.5 minutes. So then 6.5 minutes, we have to get down 1,000 feet in 6.5 minutes. That's like 150 feet a minute, so really not a problem at all. We're now underneath the 5,000 foot shelf. You can see that right here. And the next shelf that we're going to hit is this one. That's the 3,000 foot shelf, and we are already below that. We're at 2,800 feet, so not a problem at all. So we know vertically we're doing the things that we should be doing. Now, within the world, are we where we would expect to be, and do we know where we are? We've got a lot of activity around us, so let's look around. Let's look at what we know. These big mothers here, that's a big old highway. That's either I-5 or I-405. 405 merges with I-5 up near Mukilteo, which we're south of, I believe. Maybe not. But as you head toward Bellevue, I-5 and I-405 split, so they're two fairly large whatsits. We're going to continue to head and split around the top of Lake Washington, I think. I've never actually had to think about that before. Yeah, they do. So this must be I-405, because I-5's on the other side of the lake. And there's, I believe, 520, one of the connectors between the two, and then further south is going to be I-90. So 520 runs just north of downtown Bellevue. So the notch between where I-520 and I-405 meet and the water, that sort of triangle there, that's Bellevue. And then it's bracketed by I-90, which is south of that. I mean, are you confused? I'm confused. And I live here. Okay, there we go. So 520 and then I-90. Okay? So that's good. Also, we see lights. We see lots of lights. If I had to guess, I would say Renton, SeaTac, Boeing. All three airports are south of the I-90 bridge. Boeing Field is further north than the other two. It doesn't look like the other two, and I don't know why that is. These two are like lit up like Christmas trees, and Boeing Field's like...
Destination ATIS is 127.75.
Thank you. And we've already hit our target altitude, and we've lost speed because I wasn't paying attention. So I'm going to enrich the mixture. I'm going to go throttle up to 2400. We're going to regain speed and continue moving. Also, we want to know that we're over when we're over Boeing or Bellevue, Seattle R7 116.8. Tune. Course 007. We'll be over Boeing very soon, so let's go ahead and get the weather.
Boeing Field / Kingco INTL Information Sierra 000 Zulu weather. Wind 090 at 5, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 5000 broken, temperature 15, dew point 5. Altimeter 2992. Arriving runway 14 right, departing runway 14 right. Advise on initial contact you have Sierra.
That is some terrible chicken scratch. Great. Calm. 118.3, and I'll go ahead and tune. I'm actually tune 1, 2.
Boeing Field / Kingco INTL Information Sierra 000 Zulu weather. Wind 090.
There we go. Tune 12190. And we're on COM 2. We're making great guns here. Oh, and I should have been descending. That was not smart of me. Get down to 1500. IAS mode. Boeing Tower Cessna 6378, Mike with Sierra over Bellevue, full stop. And they're going to say something like, 6378, Mike, Boeing Tower, fly the Bellevue arrival. Make left base runway 14 left. Say, fly the Bellevue arrival, make left base runway 14 left, 6378, Mike. Okay, so they gave us the Bellevue arrival. Let's see. More, no, more, yes, documents. Close. Tablet mirror, KBFI VFR procedures, arrivals in runway 14, Bellevue arrival, contact, fly toward Mount Baker, I-90 bridge meets western shoreline, cross at 1,100 feet to enter left base. Okay. So what we really want to be down to 1,100 feet as we cross Mount Baker, which is coming up straight ahead here. Look at those landing lights on. So we're going to go ahead and continue our descent. We're descending 550. I'm going to go ahead and kill that timer. That can go away. Don't want that. CDI, that's fine. And we're descending below. So set that to roll. Set heading for 14. That's my bug. And we're below 1500. I'm going to go ahead and deactivate the autopilot and take it from here. And we'll activate direct to Boeing Field. Got a reference, that's always good to have. bring that speed back. Sort of abbreviated, got to get into a left base, you know, here in pretty short order. There we go. There's 1100, and we got the white arc, first notch of flaps. And there's 75 for base. We're actually gaining altitude though. We kind of want to just stay where we are. We want to cross Mount Baker at 1100, and then we want to go ahead and make left base. We're a little slow. And we're a little high. So like 6378 Mike, descend and maintain 1,100 as you cross Mount Baker. Descend and maintain 1,100 as I cross Mount Baker. 6378 Mike. Try to not say sorry, right? And we're crossing Mount Baker, bang on 1,100. Wahoo! Okay, left base, so I'm going to give it a slight right turn. I'm going to have a nice extended base here. And second notch of flaps. Pump in some electric trim, yeah. Use the trim wheel manually to keep it nice and steady. And we want to start to lose some altitude here. Yeah, we do. Point that nose. Okay, speed 72. Okay, I've got the runway lights. Still on base, speed 73. I'm going to point that nose and lose more altitude. We really need to. Okay, we're crossing I-5. It's that bend in I-5 right there that it kind of signals when I tend to turn on final, so I'm going to use that. Speed 74, now 250 feet below pattern altitude. I've got 1-4 left in sight. Not ready to turn yet, not ready to turn. Okay, I'm going to make the turn now. And we're going to lose a little bit of lift because lift component is now translated into bank. And that's fine because we're actually pretty high. I'm going to coordinate the turn a little bit more. Let's not drift over to the big runway. Alright, so pattern altitude, pattern speed, before landing checklist. Tanks both, fuel shut off is in, mixture is rich, keys both, master is on, autopilot is off, lights are set. Seatbelts, seats up and seatbelts are fastened. Last notch of flaps. And we're looking for a speed of 65. And they would tell me wind 090 at 5. So wind's coming from the east, it's blowing us left to right, which is why we're drifting over here. So I'm going to point just a little bit left of the field. I'm watching those pappies. Still high. I'm going to point my nose down to gain some speed. Okay, I've got one red. Okay, I'm going to ease out that crab a little bit. Speed 61, we're still a little bit slow. Looks like 2 reds and 2 whites on glide path. Still crabbing a little bit, and we're a little slow. I'm going to give it just a little bit of gas until we're over the threshold, and then I'll chop it. Put that nose down. That messed with our sink rate. Okay, we're a little bit slow, so I'm going to wait to chop the engine. That was okay. Cessna 6378 Mike, turn off runway when able, contact ground, 0.9. Turn off runway when able, contact ground, 0.9, 6378 Mike. Ooh, 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 ooh. There you go. Okay, there's ground. Alright, we're listening on ground. We're doing our checklist here. After landing, flaps up. Transponder, Alt 1200. Check. Mixture, lean as required. Lights as required. Landing light off. Trim set for takeoff. Boeing ground, Cessna 6378 Mike, Alpha 5, Galvin. Cessna 6378 Mike, taxi to Galvin via Alpha. Taxi to Galvin via Alpha, 6378 Mike. Get some of that fresh
500.
air. Oh, hush now. And Galvin's just...
2 mile final runway 14 left.
I think you're a little behind there. And Galvin's just north of Alpha 2, if I remember right. Toity. The taxi's kind of just always kind of chill, you know, at the end. Got adrenaline going in your system. You're just kind of like, yeah, all right. Oh yeah, snap into a Slim Jim. Nobody to the right. Well, this ain't gonna be the world's best parking job, but it'll have to do. Since there's no tow bar simulator. Shut down. Avionics master switch off. Electrical equipment off except beacon. Mixture idle cutoff. Keys. Off. Master. Off. Remove key. Tanks on left. Control lock installed. RBF chocks, tie downs. Back home, baby. Good flight. Good flight. Well, I think we did pretty well. Ultimately, it was about 1 hour and 20 minutes, maybe 1 hour 23. Prep for takeoff and all that. Probably somewhere closer to 70 minutes en route. Not bad. Pretty fast. We did a good bit of navigation, pilotage, dead reckoning-ish, used primary and secondary navigation systems, and landed where we intended to on the first try. So, not bad today. Great to be with you. I'm seeing the sun coming up, and I got to go and get my navlog ready for the real thing. Today, 2 p.m., hoping to do this Friday Harbor thing for real. So cross your fingers for me for good weather, and I'll post the results on YouTube.